Imagine waking up every morning knowing deep in your shimmering, sparkly DNA that you are the only emotionally stable organism within a 3-mile radius. Not because you meditate, not because you journal, not because you go to therapy, fadas cliently not fazimiso, but because everyone around you is objectively incapable of doing anything without turning reality into a neon pastel horror show. That, unfortunately, is Wanda's life. Picture the opener like this. Wanda floating midair with a clipboard, one eyebrow raised, while the sky behind her is literally on fire because someone wished for a fun surprise. Confetti falls, time breaks. Cosmo is smiling like he didn't just commit magical arson. Timmy is already drafting wish number 2. And Wanda is doing risk assessment in real time with the dead-eyed calm of someone who has seen the end of the world and had to fix it before dinner. Because Wanda isn't just a fairy godmother, she's a cosmic babysitter, assigned to a rotating cast of existential threats disguised as people. The universe didn't give her peace, rest, or even a functioning support system. No, it gave her Cosmo, Timmy, a newborn magical singularity, and a rule book thicker than her will to live. From the outside, she looks composed. Pink hair perfectly styled, wings fluttering politely, voice calm and rational, like the kind of responsible adult you'd trust with a classroom full of feral toddlers. But on the inside, she is one bad wish away from dissolving into a fluorescent puddle of repressed panic. Every episode of the Fairly OddParents is basically Wanda running damage control while everyone else sprints toward disaster with Olympic enthusiasm. Then acting shocked when the disaster does exactly what it always does. Escalates. And the worst part? She can't quit. She can't retire. She can't even take a day off. Wanda signed up to be a fairy godmother the same way most people sign up for a free trial. She thought it would be fun, harmless, maybe even fulfilling. Instead, she's locked into the emotional equivalent of a lifetime subscription to chaos, and someone forgot to add a cancel button. But here's the twist that makes her tragedy deliciously funny. Wanda is good at this terrible job. She's so competent that everyone else assumes she'll just keep fixing everything forever. She's the designated adult in a universe allergic to accountability, the overworked mom friend of magical beings who absolutely shouldn't be trusted with even the simplest decisions. And she knows it. Every sigh, every unimpressed glare, every passive-aggressive, sure Cosmo, great idea, is the sound of a woman clinging to sanity with glitter-covered fingernails. She doesn't fight villains. She fights consequences. She doesn't battle monsters. She battles loopholes, poor planning, and whatever Timmy thinks counts as reasonable today. So before we dive into the specifics of her suffering, the destructive husband, the apocalyptic child, the enchanted man-child she's responsible for, and the militarized fairy bureaucracy she's trapped under, we need to acknowledge one truth. Wanda exists in a permanent state of emotional hostage survival. And honestly, that's why we love her. If Wanda's life were a job description, it would read like this. Position: emotional firefighter, 24/7. Reports to none, but everyone thinks she does. Responsibilities: prevent the world from collapsing due to one idiotic husband, one wildly imaginative child, and one explosive fairy toddler. Compensation: emotional exhaustion, occasional eye rolls, and 0 days off. Cosmo, her beloved husband, is the perfect storm wrapped in a disaster cone. He's energetic, clueless, and utterly incapable of grasping the simplest concept
of consequences. Wanda's life with him is less a romantic fairy tale and more a masterclass in damage control. She didn't sign up for marital bliss, she signed up for the emotional equivalent of putting out a fire that reignites itself every 5 minutes. Every time Cosmo opens his mouth, Wanda braces herself, not because she doubts his love. Oh no, he's sweet in the way a tornado is sweet when it flattens your house, but because words alone from Cosmo can trigger a chain reaction of magical disasters. A misplaced spell, a misinterpreted suggestion, or just the chaotic force of his thoughts manifesting into reality can undo hours, days, or weeks of careful planning in mere seconds. And yet, Wanda manages. Somehow, she balances patience with irritation, sarcasm with genuine concern, and love with an unspoken desire to literally vanish into another dimension. Watching her navigate life with Cosmo is like watching someone juggle flaming swords while being asked to compose a sonnet in the middle of an earthquake. Her suffering is silent, except for the occasional sigh so heavy it could alter the trajectory of a falling star. Cosmo doesn't notice, or maybe he does, and that's the cruel joke, because his world is simple. If he's happy, the universe is fine. Wanda, meanwhile, knows the universe isn't fine, hasn't been fine, and will never be fine as long as she has to clean up after everyone else's mistakes. Yet, despite all this, Wanda shows up. Every day. She puts on her pink, perfectly styled exterior and solves problems no one else can even begin to comprehend. And the comedy? That's the cruel punchline. She suffers beyond reason, yet we can't look away. Her competence in the face of relentless chaos makes her misery not just tragic, but absurdly, painfully hilarious. If there's one thing to take from Wanda's relationship with Cosmo, it's this. Being married to him is less about love and more about survival. And in a world where emotional survival is itself a full-time occupation, Wanda is the undefeated champion. If Cosmo was a hurricane, Timmy is a tornado that decided it wanted to be a supernova. A child who doesn't just make wishes, he creates catastrophes with all the subtlety of a marching band in a library. And Wanda, she's the one left to pick up the pieces. Timmy's wishes aren't, I want a new bike, or I'd like a puppy. No. He wants things like, I want to live in a world made entirely of candy that kills anyone who eats it if they aren't me, or make me invisible forever, but also make everyone else's furniture explode when they sit on it. The man-child is relentless. His creativity is terrifying, and every single wish comes with a side of chaos that Wanda has to fix before anyone dies, or at least before the universe notices. Now, most people would panic. Most people would run screaming or cry, or maybe just quit life entirely. But Wanda, she sighs. Deeply. She mutters under her breath. She flaps her wings just enough to look like she's hovering, but really she's holding herself together by sheer force of will. And here's the cruel part. Timmy doesn't get it. He's blissfully oblivious, seeing Wanda as the helper, the fairy, or sometimes that pink-haired lady who's not Cosmo. He doesn't realize he's a walking, talking, magical chaos machine, and she's the emotional vacuum keeping the entire system from imploding. Wanda's life as Timmy's fairy godmother is a masterclass in tragedy comedy. Every time she solves a problem he created, every wish she reverses, every disaster she prevents, it's another silent testament to her emotional endurance. And yet, she doesn't get credit. She doesn't even get thanks. Sometimes, if she's lucky, she gets an, "Oh, okay," before he moves on to his next wish, which inevitably doubles the level of danger. Her humor is dry, her sarcasm is lethal, and her sanity, It's a fragile glass sculpture teetering on a shelf that Cosmo, Timmy, and Poof could topple at any second. Yet Wanda survives. She navigates this endless loop of destruction with grace that would make saints cry and demons envy. And the beauty of it, watching her navigate Timmy's absurd, world-altering desires is both heartbreaking and hysterical. Her life is, by all measures, emotionally unbearable. And yet, somehow, we laugh along. Because suffering, when delivered with perfect timing and pink hair, is unexpectedly entertaining.
If there's one thing Wanda didn't sign up for, it's a universe with rules so convoluted they make tax law look like a coloring book. Being a fairy isn't just about granting wishes and looking cute. It's about navigating an endless maze of magical regulations, bureaucratic red tape, and decrees so arbitrary they could make a grown wizard weep. Take the Fairy Council, for example, an organization that exists solely to remind Wanda that she is never, ever allowed to have fun. There are rules about what she can and cannot grant, rules about what happens if she accidentally grants something wrong, rules about interacting with humans, rules about interacting with Cosmo, rules about interacting with rules, and rules about how rules are enforced. She lives in a world where a simple wish is a potential felony, and a sneeze could trigger an interdimensional audit. And then there's Jorgen von Strangle, the militarized enforcer of all these rules. Imagine a drill sergeant, but with wings, a grudge, and the power to destroy anyone who displeases him. Wanda doesn't just have to manage the fallout from Cosmo and Timmy. She has to constantly worry about whether she's breaking some obscure magical law that could get her annihilated. It's like juggling flaming swords while riding a unicycle across a tightrope suspended over a pit of existential dread. Every day, Wanda walks the fine line between competent miracle worker and law-breaking disaster waiting to happen. One slip-up, one moment of distraction, and everything she's tried to stabilize could collapse. The rules don't bend for her. They don't care if she's exhausted or traumatized. The rules exist to make her life harder, to remind her that no amount of pink-haired perfection can shield her from cosmic bureaucracy. And yet, somehow, she thrives. She interprets, adapts, and manipulates this never-ending nightmare of magical legislation with a quiet efficiency that's both admirable and tragic. Every resolved wish, every averted disaster is a testament to her competence in a universe designed to punish competence, which of course makes her misery all the more delicious to watch. Because the more rules the universe throws at Wanda, the more brilliantly she navigates them and the more absurd her suffering becomes. It's a loop of chaos and control so exquisitely painful that we can't help but laugh at her predicament, even as we silently cheer her on. Wanda didn't start her life as the overworked, emotionally frazzled pink fairy you see on screen. No, she was carefully molded into this perfect blend of competence and exasperation by a family that could only be described as toxic with a capital T. Big Daddy, her father, is the fairy version of a CEO crossed with a drill sergeant and sprinkled with just enough overbearing paranoia to make you question why anyone in this family is still alive. He treats Wanda like she's both the crown jewel of the family and the only available janitor for the chaos his other children, and apparently the universe at large, produce. His guidance is less parenting and more emotional boot camp. She grows up with the unspoken message, never fail, or the entire magical world might implode. And also, it's your fault. Her mother isn't much better. A constant source of mild guilt, veiled judgment, and the occasional, completely unhelpful advice. She reminds Wanda that perfection is mandatory and emotional expression is optional. From day one,
Wanda's life was less fairy childhood and more graduate-level course in stress management taught by sadistic mentors. Combine this with siblings who are either oblivious, chaotic, or actively antagonistic, and you get a young Wanda forced to develop skills most people only acquire after decades of therapy. Conflict resolution? Mastered. Emotional suppression? Check. Sarcasm as a survival mechanism? Absolutely. By the time she's assigned to Cosmo, Timmy, and Poof, Wanda isn't just a competent fairy, she's a hardened survivor. Every sigh, every muttered complaint, every exasperated glare is a lifetime of conditioning culminating in her current, brilliantly tragic existence. The beauty of her family-induced trauma is that it's invisible, understated, and absolutely hilarious to watch from the outside. Wanda carries the weight of generations' worth of fairy dysfunction with grace, sarcasm, and just enough panic to make you laugh while your heart aches a little. She is, in every sense, a masterpiece of tragic comedy crafted by a childhood that made her laugh, cry, and question the meaning of existence, all at once. So remember, when you see Wanda muttering under her breath or rolling her eyes at yet another magical disaster, you're not just witnessing impatience. You're seeing decades of expertly cultivated fairy toxicity that has prepared her for exactly the life she never wanted. And somehow, she survives it with dignity. Just when you thought Wanda had reached peak emotional exhaustion, the universe decided she wasn't stressed enough. Enter Poof, a pink, impossibly adorable, magically volatile baby who is simultaneously the most terrifying force Wanda has ever encountered. Poof is like a living, breathing bomb, wrapped in fluff and innocence. One misfired giggle, one accidental sneeze, and suddenly entire cities, or at least entire rooms, are at risk of being flattened into pastel rubble. For Wanda, being Poof's parent isn't about lullabies or cute milestones. It's about constant vigilance, infinite patience, and the terrifying knowledge that one tiny mistake could unravel reality itself. And don't get me started on his developmental stages. Poof doesn't just grow, he evolves in ways that directly correlate with Wanda's rising blood pressure. First comes the giggles that can shatter glass. Then the crawling stage, where everything within reach is either destroyed or on fire. And eventually, walking, talking, and wielding unpredictable magic like a toddler wielding a lightsaber in a room full of chandeliers. Wanda is always one step behind, one spell away from catastrophe, and 10 seconds from an emotional breakdown. The genius and tragedy of Poof is that he is utterly lovable. You want to smile, coo, and maybe hug him, but you also want to scream, cry, and run screaming into the night. And Wanda? She does it all. She loves him, protects him, and somehow keeps the multiverse intact while juggling responsibilities that would make seasoned superheroes faint in horror. Her life with Poof is a constant cycle of adorable terror. Every baby milestone is also a potential apocalypse. Every giggle is a ticking bomb schedule. Every moment of cuteness comes with an unspoken, "Please don't destroy everything I've ever loved." It's tragic, it's funny, and it's Wanda's reality, wrapped in pink wings, exhaustion, and the relentless duty of keeping chaos from consuming the universe. By now, it should be obvious. Wanda doesn't get breaks. Not even tiny, fleeting, blissful breaks. The universe has a strict no rest for the competent policy, and she is its poster child. Between Cosmo's catastrophic enthusiasm, Timmy's apocalyptic wishes, and Poof's infantile nuclear potential, Wanda exists in a constant state of heightened alert. Her relaxation consists of exhaling quietly while keeping one eye on imminent disaster. Even simple pleasures are suspect. A cup of tea might turn into a potion that petrifies the furniture. A short nap could coincide with Timmy's latest harmless wish. Watching a sunset? Probably an illusion created by magic gone wrong. Every second of downtime is either sabotaged, stolen, or guilt-inducing. She can't even binge a show without worrying if the screen flicker is a new magical anomaly. Her life is a masterclass in perpetual tension. Emotional exhaustion is her baseline. Sarcasm is her shield. And patience? Well, she's got enough patience to qualify as a mythical creature in human form. Yet the tragedy is that her competence ensures the cycle never ends. The more she manages, the more the universe expects of her. Wanda is trapped in an endless loop. Chaos occurs, she fixes it, universe notices she's competent, chaos escalates, repeat ad infinitum. And the humor? That's where the dark comedy shines. Watching Wanda navigate this nonstop barrage of crises is equal parts awe-inspiring and hilariously absurd. Her pink hair, wings, and calm demeanor are a stark contrast to the relentless emotional hell she's enduring. Every exasperated glance, every sigh, every quiet muttered curse is a perfectly timed punchline in a narrative that refuses to let her catch her breath. So next time you think your life is stressful, just remember Wanda. She lives in a world where peace is impossible, sanity is optional, and every 5 seconds could result in an interdimensional incident. And she still shows up every single day. So, what have we learned about Wanda? She's overworked, underappreciated, and emotionally detached beyond human, or fairy, endurance. Yet, somehow she endures. She endures not with oblivious cheer like Cosmo, or reckless abandon like Timmy, or adorable destruction like Poof, but with sharp wit, dry sarcasm, and a level of competence that borders on the heroic. Her life is tragic, absolutely, but it's also hilarious. The universe, in all its cruel whimsy, piles trauma, responsibility, and absurdity onto her shoulders, and she carries it with just enough grace to make our hearts ache and our mouths smile. Her suffering is exaggerated, relentless, and, paradoxically, entertaining. The comedy comes from the sheer contrast. Pink-haired perfection navigating a world that is fundamentally incapable of functioning without her constant intervention. Every sigh, every eye roll, every muttered curse is both a cry for help and a punchline. Watching Wanda maneuver through apocalyptic wishes, magical regulations, and the ongoing disasters caused by those she loves is witnessing the perfect storm of tragic comedy. She is the ultimate straight person in a universe gone completely mad, the emotional anchor holding a tsunami of chaos at bay. And in her struggle, we find laughter. So next time you see Wanda floating through her endless obligations, sighing at yet another magical catastrophe, remember, this isn't just a fairy story. It's a masterclass in emotional endurance, absurd responsibility, and comedic timing. She suffers so we can laugh. She perseveres so we can marvel. And she survives so we can revel in the beautifully absurd tragedy that is the Fairly OddParents. Wanda is proof that sometimes the most heartbreaking lives are also the funniest, and that's why it sucks to be her, but also why we can't stop watching.